We're going to continue our video on solving equations with a little more complicated one over here on the right hand side. In this equation, before we can actually go about solving for x, we have to do a little bit of simplifying. And what that means is I need to take this 5 and I have to distribute it between the x minus 6. And I need to do the same thing here with the minus times an x, minus times a positive 1. So I need to do some simplifying before I can actually start solving my equation. So if I do that simplifying, I get 5x minus 30 minus 2x equals 3 minus x minus 1. Do make sure that you take this negative and multiply it through. In reality, what this really is a minus 1. Now, before I can continue, I do have some further simplifying I can do. I can take this 5x and this minus 2x, and I can come up with 3, bring down the rest material, equals, I can do the same thing on the right-hand side. I have the 3 and the negative 1, so this becomes a minus x plus 2. Doesn't really matter whether you put the 2 first or the x first. I like to put the x first. So in this instance, now we're just going to solve our equation as we did with the first one. But this time we'll take and we'll move and remove the 30. So we'll add 30 to both sides. So this becomes 3x equals minus x plus 32. Then we'll move the x, so we'll add x to both sides. And remember, this is really 1x, so this becomes 4x equals 32. And then to continue our solution, divide both sides by 4, so x equals 8. So that's more of a complicated problem. Again, the idea was to do simplifying, do this distributive, and then combine any like terms. Now, this last problem is going to be a little bit more involved because we have some fractions. And there are a number of ways that you can work with these, but I find the best way is to eliminate our fractions. Now, you can't just go and scratch off the 3, scratch off the 4, and scratch off the 2. We have to do this mathematically. So what we want to look for is what is the lowest common denominator? What number does 3, 4, and 2 go into? Well, the lowest common is 12. Now, ideally, you'll use 12. You could use 24. Any multiple would work, but the smallest number is easiest. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply this entire equation by 12. That means the 5x minus 2 over 3 will get multiplied by 12. The minus 2x minus 9 over 4 will also get multiplied by 12. And the 9/2 will also be multiplied by 12. So to do that, I'm going to rewrite the problem. And I'm going to take 12 times 5x. Let me erase that and just start from scratch here. 12 times 5x minus 2 all over 3. Plus, so that's the first term we're working with. Now we're going to work with the next. Again, we'll multiply by 12. Minus, I'm going to put this in parentheses so that I don't want to lose that negative. That negative plays a big part in this second term. Divide by 4, and then the same thing for the last part. As we had talked about before, if you multiply the left by a number or divide the left by a number, as long as you divide both sides by that number, your equation still stays in equilibrium. So now if we look at this first term, we have 12 times some quantity with a divisor. So what we can do is actually cancel. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12 4 times. The next one, 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 12 3 times. And then the last one, 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. So what we've done is, by multiplying by a common denominator, we have in essence removed mathematically those denominators. So then what we are left with is 4 times 5x minus 2 plus 3. Now before I write that, I'm going to go back to this problem here, and we have this negative, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute it. So then I will actually get, and I'll put it in parentheses, a minus 2x plus 9. So the 2x is positive. If we multiply that by negative 1, we get a negative 2x. The negative 9, if we multiply that by a negative 1, we get a positive 9. And then the 6 times 9. And now this is like the previous problem. We're going to do distributive. We'll distribute the 4, so we get 20x minus 8. Distribute the 3. Again, make sure that when you're distributing to the first and second term. So that'll give us minus 6x plus 27. And then 6 times 9 is 54. Now we have some more simplifying to do. The minus 8 and the 27 gives us 19. The 20 and the minus 6 gives us 14x plus equals 54. Now we can subtract 19 from both sides. This will give us 14x equals 35. And then we'll divide by 14. Now you could leave this as a fraction. Remember, you need to simplify your fractions, but we can also try to divide this. And if I take the 35, divide by 14, I get 2.5. If I go back to my fraction, I can divide the top by 7 and the bottom by 7 for reducing, and that'll give us 5/2, which is also equal to 2.5. So those are some examples of solving equations. Work carefully. Do any simplifying that you might need to do, as we did here with doing the distributive property. Look for ways of getting rid of your denominators. Combine any like terms like we did in this second line so that you can actually solve your equations. And as long as you work carefully and slowly, you shouldn't have too much of a problem.